not a video about reading a book with my strong French accent. I have everything I need. I have the book. I have my coffee. Everything is ready. So let's get started. Alright, so the book I've chosen today is a book that I've studied in high school, I think. I've studied English in high school. That was my main course. It was called English Literature. And this book is called The Buddha of Suburbia. The Buddha of Suburbia. Written by Hanif Kureishi. Alright, so I'm gonna read the synopsis, the back of the book. The hero of Hanif Kureishi's debut novel is dreamy teenager Karim, desperate to escape suburban South London and experience the forbidden fruits of the 1970s offer. When the unlikely opportunity of a life in the theater announces itself, Karim starts to win the sort of attention he has been craving, with some rude and raucous results. There's some commentary on it. One by Angela Carter. A wonderful novel. I doubt I will read a funnier one, or one with more hurt, this year, probably this decade. Another commentary by the Independent on Sunday. One of the best comic novels of growing up, and one of the sharpest satires on race relations in this country. Alright. Let's open the book. And I can see that I've written a lot of things on the pages. Do not remember some parts of the story. There's the introduction. I've already recorded that video, and I was reading the introduction this whole time. But I wanted to read the book. So here I am again. Okay. So let's start by the chapter 1. And let's switch to my terrible French accent. So, chapter 1. My name is Karim Amir, and I am an Englishman born and bred, almost. I am often considered to be a funny kind of Englishman. South London suburbs on going somewhere. Perhaps it is the odd mixture of continents and blood, of here and there, or belonging and not, that makes me restless and easily bored. Or perhaps it was being brought up in the suburbs that I did it. Anyway, why search the inner room when it's enough to say that I was looking for trouble? Any kind of movement, actions, and sexual interest I could find, because things were so gloomy, so slow and heavy in our family. I don't know why. Quite frankly, it was all getting me down and I was ready for anything. Then one day everything changed. In the morning things were one way and by bedtime another. I was 17. On this day my father hurried home from work, not in a gloomy mood. His mood was high for him. I could smell the train on him as he put his briefcase away behind the front door and took off his raincoat, chucking it over the bottom of the banisters. He grabbed my fleeing little brother Ali and kissed him. He kissed my mother and me with enthusiasm, as if we'd recently been rescued from an earthquake. More normally, he handed Mom his supper, a packet of kebabs and chapatis so greasy their paper wrapper as disintegrated. Horrible French accent. Next, instead of flopping into a chair to watch the television news and wait for Mum to put the warmed up food on the table, he went into their bedroom, which was downstairs next to the living room. He quickly stripped to his vest and underpants. "Fetch the pink towel," he said to me. I did so. Dad spread it on the bedroom floor and fell on to his knees. I wondered if he'd suddenly taken up religion, but no, he placed his arm beside his head and kicked himself into the air. "I must practice," he said in a stifled voice. I need some coffee. It's coffee time. My coffee is cold as hell because I forgot about it, but that's okay. Alright, next page. "Practice for what?" I said reasonably, watching him with interest and suspicion. "They've called me for Dame Yoga Olympics," he said. He easily became sarcastic. Dad. He was standing on his head now, balanced perfectly. His stomach sagged down. His balls and prick fell towards in his pants. Okay. The considerable muscles in his arms swelled up and pressed energetically. Like many Indians, he was small, but Dad was also elegant and handsome, with delicate hands and manners. Beside him, most Englishmen looked like clumsy giraffes. He was broad and strong too. When young, he'd been a boxer and fanatical chest expander. He was as proud of his chest as our next door neighbors were of their kitchen range. As the sun's first smile, he would pull off his shirt and stride the front of yours sticking out like that and everyone can see. She turned to me. You encourage him to be like this. At least pull the curtains. It's not necessary, Mom. There isn't another house that can see us for 100 yards. Unless they're watching through binoculars. That's exactly what they are doing, she said. I pulled the curtains on the back curtain. The room immediately seemed to contract. Tension rose. I couldn't wait to get out of the house now. I always wanted to be somewhere else. I don't know why. When Dad spoke, his voice came out squashed and thin. Karim, read to me in a very clear voice from the yoga book. I ran and fetched Dad's preferred yoga book, Yoga for Women, with pictures of healthy women in black leotards. From among his other books of Buddhism, Sufism, Confucianism and Zen, which he had bought at the Oriental Bookshop in Cecil Court of Charing Cross Road. I squatted beside him with the book. He pressed in, held the press, pressed out, and once more held the press. I wasn't a bad reader and imagined myself to be on the stage of the old Vic, as I nicknamed grandly. Salamba Sirsanana revives and maintains the spirit of usefulness and asset beyond price. It is wonderful to know that you are all ready to face up to life and extract from it all the real joy it has to offer. He grunted his approval at each sentence and opened his eye, seeking out my mother, who had closed hers. I read on. This position also prevents loss of air and reduces any tendency to grayness. That was the coupe. Grayness would be avoided. Satisfied, Dad stood up and put his clothes on. I feel better. I can feel myself coming old, you see. He softened. By the way, Margaret coming to Mrs. Gay's tonight. She shook her head. Come on, sweetie. Let's go out together and enjoy ourselves, huh? But it isn't me that Eva wants to see, Mom said. She ignores me. Can't you see that? She treats me like a dog smug. Harun. I'm not Indian enough for her. I'm only English. I know you're only English, but you could wear a sari. He loved to tease, but Mum wasn't a satisfactory teasing victim, not realizing you were supposed to laugh when mocked. Special occasion too, said Dad, tonight. This was obviously what he'd been leading up to. He waited for us to ask him about it. What is it, Dad? You know, Dave so kindly asked me to speak on one or two aspects of Oriental philosophy. Dad spoke quickly and then tried to hide his pride in dishonor. And some more coffee. It's almost midnight and I'm drinking a coffee. But that's okay. Tonight it's Elden Ring stream on Twitch. So I know I'm gonna sleep at 5 a.m. If not 6. Let's read a last page. This proof of his importance by Busini tucking his vest in. force myself to miss it if you like. I say this as innocently as a vicar, not wanting to steamy things by seeming too eager. I discovered in life that if you're too eager, others tend to get less eager. And if you're less eager, it tends to make others more eager. So the more eager I was, the less eager it seemed. Dad pulled up his vest and slapped his bare stomach rapidly with both hands. The noise was loud and unattractive, and it filled our small house like pistol shots. Okay, Dad said to me. You get changed, Karim. He turned to Mom. He wanted her to be with him, to witness him being respected by others. If only you'd come, Margaret. I charged upstairs to get changed. From my room, the walls decorated ceiling to floor with newspapers. I could hear them arguing downstairs. Would he persuade her to come? I hoped not. My father was more frivolous when my mother wasn't around. I put on one of my favorite records, Dylan's Positively 4th Street, to get me in the mood for the evening. It took me several months to get ready. I changed my entire outfit 3 times. At 7 o'clock I came downstairs, in what I knew were the right clothes for Eva's evening. I wore turquoise flared trousers, a blue and white flower patterned see-through shirt, blue suede boots with Cuban heels, and a scarlet Indian waistcoat with gold stitching around the edges. I'd pulled on a headband to control my shoulders-length frizzy hair. I'd washed my face in Old Spice. Dad waited at the door for me, his hands in his pockets. He wore a black polo neck sweater, a black imitation leather jacket, and cream Marks and Spencer cords. When he saw me, he suddenly looked agitated. Say goodbye to your mom, he said. In the living room, Mom was watching Steptoe and Son.